which essentially is using filters and view templates, trying to use them to the maximum possible and just going through a few other different tips and techniques. Obviously this will be recorded, so if anyone has to run off, don't stress. We can, Clinton will send this around at some stage. So. Right, first, so this is basically the agenda we'll go through, which is just talking about why you need to use view templates, and then obviously using filters on their own, also within view templates to sort of help you throughout your process. Okay, first topic is, more creates consistency, less creates inconsistency. Let's jump straight over into Revit. Okay, when you obviously go File, New, out of box, if I go File, New, Project, I'll just do None, Metric. Often you might only have 3 or 4 view templates. Obviously I've done no setup here, so now, which is all fine. However, to create consistent documents in any office, in other words, it's basically creating standard views, if it's a floor plan or if it's section or elevation or 3D view, whatever it may be, using view templates you can control pretty much anything that you need to. So what I often have is, in my setups, is basically a series of, I'll just show all, and just be aware of that, just because I'm in a plan mode at the moment, so it shows the type being floor plans, but you can always access other ones or other view templates that can be used for any view specific at all. Here's some of the ones I often use. Just sort of running through just why I use some of these as an example. The obvious ones might be talking about reinforcement. I might have a GA plan that might do specific things. I might then have a reinforcement for top Rio or a post-tension slab, a bottom Rio. I might also have a masonry plan. I might have roof plans. I might have purlin plans, etc., etc. Obviously, these take a bit of time to develop once the more projects you do, but once you get them in your office standards and your office template, you got half a chance of your other young Revit users, if they apply a view template, and unfortunately a lot of them just blindly apply a view template and don't think much else, you're at least sort of halfway there. So then you're not chasing your tail if they've turned the floors on or off or whatever it may be. So often more, as I was saying, having more types creates consistency, and if you're only having 3 or 4 types, you'll probably struggle to only sort of have half a dozen types to cover, say a 3 or 4 story building by the time you get through GA, bottom Rio, top Rio, etc. So, because one thing, if you don't have additional view templates, you'll find a lot of users end up doing things like hide in view, and it disappears. Whereas obviously using filters and view templates, you can get around that. So. Next page. Bear with me. Right, making them on the run. It's an important fact that just because you have standard ones within your project, for an example, say I was creating a floor plan, series of floor plans, and for some reason I would want, say, my grids to be turned off. Obviously anyone can go VG, annotate, go down the grids, turn off grids, which is all fine. I'm happy with that. But obviously to apply that to other views, obviously I'd like to be able to select them again VG on all my plans, and it does the same thing. So don't be afraid, obviously, going the old right click, create view template from view, basically brings it up a name. Now even if this is temporary, I often put a job number in front of mine. That way I know it's to do with my specific project. It's not to do with anything else. So it might be job number, and it might be grids off, and even if you put in brackets, your initials. That way you've got other users to come back and saying, well, why have you done this? Why did you make one to do with grids? So if I now go OK, it basically is create the name for me. It gives me all my view properties. So in my view properties over here, obviously going through any of the VG items, in this example here, that's basically picked up what that current view is doing for the model categories. Obviously on the annotation, scrolling down, grids should be off. Imported, filters, anything else would still be applied. Also at this time here, if you only want to turn off the grids, at this stage here you can go, well, that's fine, I don't want to change anything else except turning off grids. So if I went through and I went, yeah, okay, cool, turning all these off. So when I apply this view template to another view, it will only pick up anything to do with what's ticked being included, which is annotation. So in our case here, it was obviously grids. So if I go, okay, I'm happy with that. And if I went to a different plan, and for some reason I had other overrides to do with model elements, for example, say for I didn't want floors on. If I now go VT view templates, and that's another thing is shortcuts, make sure you have these set up. If I now go apply, it will only take off the grids. If I undo that, if I go back to my level 3, at the moment, as we agreed, I've taken off grids, but I've still got floors on. So if I did create view template again, grids off too, so I'll just do that one again. And in this case here, I'll just blindly forget and go, yeah, okay, all good, and not think about it. Now if I go here and I realise I've done all my hard work, I know in level 2 I don't want to show my floor. If I now go VT and use my second one, yes, it'll take the grids off, but we'll also leave the floor back on. So just being aware, whatever you set here, you need to have a little think about in these as well. So a lot of the time you can just blindly leave it, but if you're having multiple users, within the project, and you've got multiple people setting up different views, sometimes not everyone communicates with each other properly, and often they will apply a view template that they've created for some reason and overwritten someone else's work. So it's just being aware. Another important factor is often in earlier Revit times when you're sort of starting to develop a series of views, this one might be, agree that might be office standard, that this might be now be called a office standard for floor plans. So obviously if I go to view templates and we're happy with the one that leaves the floor on, which is that one, but only turns the grids off, I'll turn a couple of these on, for example. You might go, okay, well, that is now the office standard. So you go, okay, cool, I'm happy with that, I'll save it. Getting this out to the next project, obviously Revit has an option under Manage called Transfer Project Standards. If I went and opened a project, actually I might just go File, New Project. This is your Oricon Bridge one template I've been working with. Say for example, this is, I've gone File, New, which has picked up a template. Obviously I can now go, well, okay, Manage, Transfer. As long as they're both open, here's my previous one, I can now go, well, check none. And then I can go, well, I'm only going to pick up all my view templates. So basically I'm getting them ready for job number 2. And I can go, yep, cool, happy with that. Override. View new template, and all of a sudden within my new project it now sits here. So if I now go, I haven't touched anything, this is my new bridge template, I now can go File, Save As, and I might save as template, and in this case here I will call it Sample Template 1. Might set that to 1, say. So I'll put this in my Office Standards, I'm all happy, and then any other new drafters obviously can go File, New Project, manually go and pick their location. That's my template, obviously the RTE extension. Yep, all looks good, and obviously now with transfer, I've now transferred all my hard work from one project to set up ready for my Office Standards. So again, you know, you're increasing basically the knowledge from job to job. Now, don't kid me that, or don't think that once you've created the view templates from day one, they will be perfect, because these will just continually evolve with more and more projects that you do. So, another tip that you can do is layering of templates, where we just touched on it before. In this example here, so I've created a view template using the, if I just use that one there. In this case here, obviously previously it was just talks about annotation. I'm happy with that. I might now, say if I was up on level 2, say for example if I went VG, I will force, say, my floor outlines just to be a colour. Okay, so in this case here, say this is a, I need to specifically set up colours and outlines, like loading drawings are a classic. So I might have the outlines that I want there. Then possibly over here, we go to roof. For some reason, say if I wanted to work on scale 1:100, what I could do is I can go, well, I might start layering a series of view templates to create what I want. So if I now go create view template and job number again, I want to scale only 1_100 for that one. So in this case here, hopefully in 2013, I haven't checked yet to see if they have a unselect all, which would be fantastic. So I'll set that one up. Okay, so O2, so this one here I'm talking about my model categories. So I might create a view template of this one. And this might be outlines, loading colours. I'm happy with that. Whoops, should have gone and turned off, because I only want to talk about model categories. I'll come back why if you don't do that, what happens. Okay, so I've got one for scale, one for outlines, and one for grid. So obviously back here, I'll start back from scratch. I'll just manually turn grids on. So if I made a series of different view templates for specific things, so I'd now go view template, and I might talk about grids off, apply, grids go off. Next one I might apply is, say scale, apply. all of a sudden, hopefully, my scale's now changed. 1:100. Next one is loading in colours. Now at the moment, obviously annotation, I've got everything else I have not changed. If I now go apply, colour looks great, scale's gone. Now if I redid that again, if I undo that, and obviously if I do colours and then deselect, talks about scales, and deselect anything else I don't want to change. So in this case here, I don't want to change annotation, I don't want my grids to come back on, I only want model categories to come back on. I'll leave everything else as it is. A few of those will be fine, and go apply. Scale stayed as is, grid stayed as is, and now my colours stayed as is. So once I've got those all laid up and I'm happy, that might be used really then as a completion. So then I can go, well, I'm happy now how I've layered a series of view templates to get exactly what I need because I've used previous information. Then obviously I can create, so I'm just going right click, create from your view template, and this might be called then standard loading diagram. And obviously in series of standard loading diagrams, just checking, yeah, it's got my colours in there. Annotations, obviously got grids turned off, which it does. Everything else is all set. And okay. So then at any stage, if I now go to level 1, rather than chasing my tail, apply, and everything's preset, ready to go. So coming back to, having more view templates is better. The reason is obviously if I've got if I do a series of duplicates of view, if I do this one called duplicate, and this one might be called rename 01 loading. This one might be called, I'll do another one. O1, say GA, general arrangement. Obviously if I've got a series of GAs and whatnot, I would just then go right click, apply view template 1 for loading, and go apply, okay. Obviously if we had multiple floors, makes it even more reason, then apply view template, and then I might use then GA, apply, and then I might go back to this one and apply a view template, and this one might be PT, apply, and it's done something else. And all of a sudden I've created consistency, from view to view to view, and has made life obviously a lot easier. That's making them on the run as well. So that, in short, that's view template. So the trick is basically make as many as you feel suited to suit your job. Even if you make temporary ones, which I often do, and I might make them to, if I create a view template, I often put mine as ZZs. So they always set the bottom list. That way I know they're never going to be part of the project. So that's how I normally sort of do mine, and then rename and modify accordingly. All right, so filters, another very important factor. Basically, we try and use filters to help us build up the model. That way we can sort of make it correct. We don't have to do any dodgy overriding or any stuff like that. So, basically, I'll go through how to make simple filters. Like the idea of this is just making sure everyone's aware of filters, and just a few little tips that you try to avoid as much as possible. Okay. The classic, obviously, creating from view to view to view might be, say for grids, select all instances, and then people are going hide. That's what we always try to avoid. Hide in view. It just makes it difficult coming onto the project to know really where are my grids. So if I went now BG and went annotation, I'm going, well, finding grids are turned on. And I'm going, well, okay, is there a filter? And at the moment, no. So, you know, then all of a sudden you've got to start questioning. Now, obviously, there's no link files within this. If you've got a lot of link files, that gets very complicated. So, using filters, obviously, will make life a bit easier. Now, just a few things making filters. So I'll just go to, say, to view template, GA, in my colours, okay. Say, for example, framing. Say I had to filter out or identify, say I had to create a series of plans from a visual colour point of view to identify 400 by 800 versus, obviously, what size is that? That is 300 by 600. Yeah, obviously structural framing. You know, I wanted to identify colours, so if I want colour, pink, white. Okay, let's go white frame because the floor's over the top. Oh, actually, I'll just undo that. Make the floor. Okay, goes to the way we still see the floor outline, then we can still sort of see our column. Now, obviously, that's picked up all columns, all beams, sorry, which is fine. But often you may need, as I said, may need to identify between different sizes. So this is where filters can come into it. So if I create a filter, so it's just VG filter, edit to make a new one. I'm going to create a new one here, and I'm going to call this 800 by 400 beams. Okay. Always try and use define criteria. That way, it's like a grouping. If I now go down to floors, to structural framing, which is fine, and all of a sudden this has got the parameters, all parameters to do with the beams. Now the obvious one in here will be obviously type name equals, and it will give you a list. Obviously if I didn't want to use type name, I could use any other relevant parameter. So in this case here, if I want to pick up 400 by 800 and apply and OK, I now add my beam. Okay, so just to quickly test to see if basically in this 400 by 800 to actually see if my rules are correct, I often just basically select it and go apply and see if it disappears. If it does, fantastic. Okay, so I've got all of a sudden looks like my beams are correct. So I might now go, okay, well that's fine. I actually want 400 by 800 and I might want a different pattern and a different colour. So all of a sudden I've got my base override, which is covering all of them, and then I've got my secondary override using the filters, which is picking up a specific part. Obviously I could go and make a series of beams to do with all the different sizes, but in this case here, all I want to do is identify one type. Now, the main reason why you need to use filters is due to limitations within Revit itself. Obviously, we just saw the framing one. Walls is a classic. If I come over here, just quickly draw a wall. Now, say if I draw, if that one was a concrete wall, and this one, say, was a block wall. Compared to framing we did have a branch out of other choices to do with usage, which I'll get to soon. But walls, there is no usage, so we can't ever pick up, like a secondary category. So we are forced, no matter what, to use filters. So obviously I would then go and make a new one to do with walls. So you edit, duplicate, and block wall. So I can go this time, type names, I might go block wall. I've done equals. Now if I swap that to contains, it holds my words, so that way I don't have to type because it is case sensitive. If I now just use the block wall, the word block, and apply, and OK, add that. And if I just half tone so it goes grey, and that one didn't work. Whoops, didn't select it. So it's gone half. Now what this will allow me to do, now this one might be called, for example, if I rename this, say 190 block wall. This one might be a 140. Because I've used the consistent word block back under here, using type name contains, it will pick up both types. So don't always do equals. Equals really does sort of hard code it, defines it no matter what. Don't be afraid to use contains or any of the other options. Talked about its limitations just then, which is fine. Another important feature is obviously section marks. Turn my sections on. Okay. If I've got a series of sections, this one might be called detail view. I have another section over here, and that one might be called wall section. Might have another one over here, and this one might be called GA sections. Now obviously we can go through and edit those as required. I'll just leave those there, section tag. Okay, so I'll just leave them all as that. Right, so I've got three types of sections, a GA section, a wall section, and that one might be to do with detail section. Obviously on a plan, you often only might need a GA section to do with GA plan, you might need a wall section to do with a wall plan, whatever the situation is. Obviously again, VG is not going to work. Filters, we have to create. We'll make a new one. So I always try to put this way they'll group together, sections, and then walls. And type and walls. Okay, so in this case here, I want to basically only leave my wall sections on. So, for example, so if I did that, added then sections wall, now that is going to apply, that is going to take off my wall section. Now I want to keep that and get rid of the other two. Now if I go back to edit new and put does not equal, hopefully then it swaps. So basically it's saying where it does not equal a wall section, please turn visible off. So yeah, that's using does not equal. So very handy. Rather than doing equal or contains, you can also do does not equal. Now, using that process there, that has stopped the end user from going hide in view, which is great. But then if I go and make a new section over here, you then have to chase your tail and come back, because if that was the GA section, it still applies. So if I go and turn on then I've got that. If I've got this situation on a lot of plans, I would now go right click. I would first of all get my filter correct. I would add it. Have to make it again. So again, you can see how I'm deliberately doing equal just so I don't have to type, because if I had to start typing that and misspelled it, it won't work. I would now go create view template using my layering, which I just used. In this case here, I might do wall, so sections, wall, nice people. So in this case here, I would then go and turn off filters. I'll leave the rest there, just for these. Made that, it's all fine. Go back to A1. That section, turn them on. So all of a sudden my sections are there. I don't want to have to start turning things on and off. So I now want to apply the view template, which has filters applied and apply, and it's just left with what I need. Okay. So it's section marks. Another thing for filters you can use for is what I call the QA checking, actually seeing if you've filled out parameters correctly, or if you've got basically, it could be making sure you've got all your set downs correct or whatever it may be. So filters aren't just for the final output as well, they can be just used also for your modelling process. So in this case here, back to VG. Okay. For example, this job here, I know I've got basically I've got a series of floors out. I can see where I've got 2 floors. Okay, which is that one in there, and I know you set down at -100. So if you've got a project that your requirement has to be either always at -100 or -150, depending, if it's shower set downs, whatever, you can use filters to sort of help basically doing your checking process. So if I now go filter, I'll just make another one. I've already made it. Edit. And I would call this QA and we'll set down 100. Find floors. There it is. Hide offset. Now, it won't, or even though it says equal, it won't actually hold those values. But I know I want to check where it is equal to -100. I'm going to then add it, and I'm going to then apply a colour and solid. Apply. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to quickly again create view template, click ZZZ, and QA, set down 100. Going to deliberately turn these all off because all I want to do is check this. So again, you sort of have these already preset in your template. I'm going, okay, happy with that. So if I now go to 3D view, so if I had a very large project, I could use this process. Sorry guys. View template. See how it doesn't show up because it was made in the plans. I now go all. Apply. If he shows up, there he is in there. If I can get ghosting, see what happens. If I have then basically a ghosting, then you can sort of start seeing a few colours coming through. So I'm using the view template, which was made up of the filter, specific filter, to do with colour override. Now, as you can see, obviously, whatever other filters, it's come through. I want to make just a QA one. You know, in theory, I should have gone remove, 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 just to do with the QA set down. You can sort of see how that's also helped. Where I use probably the QA component a lot is by add, basically filling out what what we call the bin part. You know, if I've got a series of parameters, you know, say RIO rates. So this one had to be 120, and that one had to be 100. And say my walls, example, 100. This to start with. I have a RIO rate one already set. I've got one set up. As you know, see, I've got a lot of filters because I use a lot of these at different stages, so I try not to reinvent the wheel. So here's one here for RIO rate. I just go edit, I'll just do a quick check, picking that parameter, which is equals 100, happy with that. I might then go, well, I'm going to make 100 and do solid colour and do that cyan, okay. And now I'm going to then duplicate that. If I go duplicate off the one to start with, it'll come down the bottom. If I then go rename, make that 120, and it's automatically held all my categories and automatically set that up ready. So all I had to do is change that to 120. Apply. All of a sudden, I've got some parameters filled out. So then in 3D, you're going, well, why is everything else grey? You know, instantly you can go, oh, okay, that floor also should have been 100. So as soon as I change that to be 100, it will change colour. So you can sort of start using that process through filters, you know, sort of from a QA point of view, helping you fill out parameters. And use that method. Bin parameters, it could be to do with marks, it could be to do with tagging, it could do with anything. Obviously, you know, besides the QA part, over here as an example, I'd often have a view template preset to do steelwork. I've got one over here. So this might be called a QS view. Say, for example, I had a series of steelwork. That one floor. Let's turn off floors for a tick. What, say, is hot dip galvanised versus what is painted finish. So you can sort of use this as a sort of, what's the word? Probably like a communication tool. And obviously these are a series of 3D views you can put on your drawings. You can send them out. Often pictures say, more than a series of works. So, if I selected this member here, and if I had one down here called, I've set up a parameter, talks about finish. Okay, well, that one's hot dip gal finish. So if I then had a filter set up, called hot dip gal finished, I want all hot dip gal finish to be that colour. Sorry, it's the reverse. Yep. So all of a sudden I go, well, that's fine, but I also need to essentially pick up the columns as well. So again, visually I can go, well, that's fine, and it turns up. So again, communication tool. Now if I'm happy with that, obviously you want to send that out to architects or whoever it may be. You can then obviously quickly turn your section box on. It's turned on. So you can save that view and create a duplicate of that. Send it out, and you can say, look, that colour equals, that's hot dip gal, which is obviously a quick process. Now obviously to filling those sort of things out, the last thing you have to do is tick a lot of members. That's where then, as per previous webinar that we did, start trying to use schedules. So if I've got a framing schedule here, say steel columns as an example. If I do, close a few windows. I go to my schedule, fields, talks about finishes, hot dip gal finish, add, okay. Then all of a sudden there's my, if I start using schedules, it's a quick way to fill them all out. So that's, again, basically using the power of Revit as much as we can to sort of make your life a lot easier. What else do I want to show you before I finish off? Again, filters can be transferred through again. So going through the process, the only different step, again, go new project. If I go manage and transfer project standards, I wanted to pick up a series of view templates, but they also include filters. If I check none, it might be a view template, but don't forget to also go up and select filters. And if I come down and do, which one did I do before? That one, filters, and it's picked up my overrides. If I didn't select filters, good chance that won't come through. So just be aware of that. when you are transferring. So, in summary, that's short. That's half your battle is creating consistent views. If you can create consistent views or create a situation that the guys are blindly almost applying a view template to at least get them to 90%, and then obviously still as drafters they still need to check their own work. That will stop inconsistencies throughout an office. So, and then using basically the view templates and filters just to help communicate, to quantity surveyors or even to other work colleagues in your company that, if all of a sudden you're having a series of beams different sizes, you can visually, compared to black and white versus colour, you can very quickly see why you should be trying to use it through filters and whatnot to make your life a lot easier. And that's it. Any questions, guys? You can talk. I've unmuted you all now.
You there, Pete?
Okay.
Yeah, it's Baz here from Sydney. Thanks very much. That was good.
No, that's right, mate. That's right.
I haven't got any questions. That was very clear. Very good.
Okay, cool. Well, it's recorded anyway, and a lot of it's, I suppose, what people call beginners to intermediate, but sometimes reinforcing the obvious will make a better project. So.
Yeah, that's right. All right, mate. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers, man.
Yeah, well, I had a question. It wasn't necessarily relating to what your topic was on today, but I noticed you had some PT stuff in there.
As in view template?
Well, yeah, I saw a filter for your view template for PT, and I was wondering what you were using for your
so basically, the question is, what does this PT template do?
Yeah.
Yep. You there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, you're breaking up there. Basically, probably what I should have shown. I've got, say, a series of Rio plans over here. So these are my families that do Rio, which are, say, generic models. I would then have, say, load up a family. I might have cable. Right? Yep. Say for example, say I had a PT cable that looked like such. The idea of the view template would be, because at the moment you can see your Rio as well. In theory, what it should do, if I now go to TP Rio, apply, it should have gone through, it's probably just a bit out of date, it should have gone through and added the ones talked about Rio. If I top, bottom, it should have gone through and taken off top and bottom Rio and just left my PT cable. That's what that one does.
Is that just a line-based family, that PT?
For those that left, the one that I didn't show, I undo that. Again, when I was talking about the QA, depending on how your families are set up, it's a good method to go back to your engineers to ask them why they all of a sudden are 16-200. Why do you have an N2200? You can use the method through filters. And if I go and have a view template, which I've already got set up, say PT and a colour and apply. You can use colours quickly and then blue highlights, goes to different. So you can use that sort of method as well through filters and families.
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Cool. All right, no other questions, guys. I'll stop recording. Shoot me an email if you have any questions later, if you think of something. So.
No, thanks very much.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. Okay.